Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Superbeing Memoria Pro and all my thoughts and opinions around it, and if I think it's worth picking up over the competition. So first I want to talk about the really basic and boring specs. It's 490 by 420 with a 3.5mm base. It does have Poron. I'm not sure if this is polyurethane or Rogers, but it does stick very well and I've had no issues with it. The mouse pad does come in two colors. It comes in a very nice blue color and a black color. I did get the black color. This was just because Superbeing Labs were out of stock of the blue one, so I got black. It's a very nice pad overall. It is slightly textured. It's overall a smooth surface with a slight texture to it. I wouldn't say it's as smooth as a GSR, as smooth as a Lamzu in any way, shape, or form, but you can feel a little bit of pad texture when rubbing your hand over it. This mouse pad does come with a very interesting lore and story. So the box art fits with everything. Then they have the Arabella's blue. So I would go recommend checking that story out too, because it is a pretty good story. And yeah, so that's all I got to say about the really basic part of the mouse pad. Let's get on to comparing it to other mouse pads and just my thoughts and opinions around it. So this mouse pad has a very unique dynamic glide because the surface weave is different from other standard mouse pads like the GSR2, Saturn Pro, even the Spyre Rosanna or the Rizz pad, the ones I just recently got. The surface weave is very different. It's more like an interlocking Velcro type of weave, which makes it a kind of unique gliding experience when it comes to the dynamic glide. Do I prefer it over the other pads? Not really, but if you're looking for something that's solid, like a really solid, good performance control pad, this is a really solid pickup. But if I were you, I would get the blue one if they are in stock. The black one is just way too boring to really recommend anyone to get. The blue one would at least have something interesting about it other than it being just a solid control pad. The dynamic glide is very controlled. It's not super muddy or not super tuggy, but it is a very nice dynamic glide. I would say it's a higher static friction than most control pads, but compared to something like the Rizz pad, it's nowhere near as high dynamic friction as that, or even the Quaoar Neutron that has the highest dynamic friction I've ever seen in my life. This is on the middle high dynamic where it's not so slow, where it feels like you're pretty much needing to be a professional weight trainer to move the mouse, but it's not so quick that you're like, yeah, this isn't a control pad, this is a different type of pad. This is slower than other control pads that I've tried. We're going to compare it first to the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro V2. This is the second iteration of the Saturn Pro with a slightly different style. It's a little bit thicker and the logo has changed, and I believe they did do something to the base to make it not curl up when after being washed. But this mouse pad has a very nice controlled balanced glide. It is ever so slightly quicker when it comes to the dynamic feeling, but when compared to the Memoria Pro, they feel really similar. As I said, Memoria Pro being ever so slightly slower. Now we're going to compare it with my well-worn year-old original Saturn Pro, where my dynamic glide here is very slow. I would say this is a higher dynamic friction than the Memoria Pro. If you're looking at getting the Memoria Pro, just know it's slightly quicker than your old Saturn Pro if you've had it for a long time. I've had mine for nearly 13 months at this point, 14 months. So it's relatively old, and I've put probably about 1,000 hours plus on this mouse pad. This is one of my favorite control mouse pads on the market, and there's not even a mouse pad close to it, in my opinion. Lastly, we're talking about our final Saturn Pro. This is the Quaoar Perseus. And I've talked about it before in my review of the Perseus. You go check it out in the description, but I'll put a little thing in the top corner so you go click on that video. The Perseus is a 1-to-1 Saturn Pro clone. It feels identical, no difference. It feels like a brand new 2022 Saturn Pro. It has a 3.5mm base, so it makes it ever so slightly quicker, but with that makes it feel more identical to the Memoria Pro. But again, this is literally just a Saturn Pro original, not the V2, and it's just slightly quicker. It's just ever so slightly quicker than the Memoria Pro in all accounts. Finally, we're doing our last Poron mouse pad before we go on to the star of the show. It is the whale pad Rizz. There are a couple creases in mine because all the mouse pads are sitting in my lap right now, so don't mind any creases that you see. But the Rizz pad is so slow. It has a very, very, very high dynamic friction and very high static friction. It takes a lot to get the mouse moving, and it also takes a lot to move the mouse while it's moving. With that being compared against the Memoria Pro, again, Memoria Pro being ever so slightly quicker, I would say that this is, again, on the slower side of control pads, but still not too slow. Like the Rizz pad, I personally cannot use the Rizz pad. It is too slow for me. So yeah, that's where these two stack up. All right, and this is second to last. This is the GSR2. My GSR2 is different from other people's for some reason. My GSR2 has a very, it's more similar to a Saturn Pro V2, the 4mm base one. It has a very quick but very balanced dynamic glide. Mine is not that slow, and I've put about like 10, 15, 20 hours on the mouse pad. It's probably coming with time, it will slow down. And the GSR is known for being an incredibly slow balanced mouse pad, or a very slow mud pad compared to here, the Memoria Pro, where this one feels slower out the box. But I'm sure that the GSR2 will wear down more and I have to put more hours onto the pad to really properly compare it to anything else. And finally, we have the QC mess here. This is the Spyre Rosanna. It is a very similar experience to the Memoria Pro. If anything, it feels identical, except the surface texture is the only thing that really sets them apart, and the Rosanna using this really weird foamy type of base and terrible QC with these awful stitched edges. The Memoria Pro feels similar in terms of speed. It also feels similar in terms of pad thickness, but the Memoria Pro is overall a way higher quality pad than the Rosanna, and if you're looking for something, I would just recommend getting the Memoria Pro over the Rosanna. Now I want to talk about how the mouse pad reacts to skates. If you guys do not know, I do have a mouse skate master sheet that I update constantly. It's full of all different kinds of mouse skates, from glass to dots to full pad skates to sapphire. I've tried just about everything. So if you want to get any information about mouse skates, I'll put that link in the description as well. But first we're going to talk about here, these are the X-Ray Pad Obsidian skates, Obsidian pad skates. These are the ones I've been using on my Phylina S450 here. Mouse I've been maining for about a couple days now after the M3S. This has a very nice controlled dynamic glide, the Obsidians being the more balanced end of mouse skates on the X-Ray Pads skates. Next, we're going to go on here. These are the X-Ray Pad Jade skates. These are similar to Tiger Ice, but ever so slightly quicker. On the Memoria Pro, really shows how fast these skates are because they make the mouse pad feel like a different surface altogether. Next, we're going to talk about here. These are the AliExpress Gulong dots. Very familiar experience to the Jades, except these have a lot more control to them. With them being dots, they do cover less surface area, so they are quicker with only 4. But with the more dots you add to the mouse, the more controlled it will be. These make the mousepad feel a lot quicker than it really is. Obsidian's really showing the true nature of the mousepad. Here, these are the BTL skates for the Sora, I believe I have on my HTX here. These feel a lot more controlled, a lot more balanced on the mousepad. They feel a lot closer to the Obsidians when it comes to the overall feel on the mousepad. So if you're looking at getting skates set for the mousepad, I would recommend the X-Ray Pad Obsidians or the BTLs. And then finally, we have the Wraith hover pads. I have these on my V2 Pro. These are similar, almost one-to-one to stock Razor skates. They are very controlled. I would say they're slower than the BTLs or the Obsidians, so I wouldn't really recommend getting these if you have stock Razor skates. If you like the way stock Razor skates feel, I would just get these and put these on your mouse, and you get a very much more balanced feeling glide on the mousepad. But my overall recommendations for mouse skates on this specific mouse pad would be the Obsidians or the BTL pad skates, not the dots. The dots being significantly quicker than the pad skates. Finally, I just want to talk about how this mouse pad reacts to certain sleeves. As you know, some sleeves do have different textures on it, and they do react to all different kind of things differently. On the Memoria Pro, there's a lot of friction going to the right side and not as much going to the left side. So if you are playing a game like Valorant, where turning right and left, where you're pretty much only going side to side, you're never doing any vertical movements, that will be a little bit more challenging on this mouse pad. It's not as smooth as a Saturn Pro or the Perseus or the Skypad, where with the sleeve on, it almost feels like you're gaining more speed on those specific surfaces. Here we have the Pulsar ES sleeve. I've had these for a couple months now, so they're a little bit worn in. And it's the same kind of feeling. Your up and down movements feel the same as your side to side movements. The same thing on the Focus sleeve that I just had on. But this doesn't feel as tuggy on the right side as on the left side. It feels more balanced when it comes to the tuggingness, but it adds a lot more friction. So when you're using the mouse, I wouldn't really recommend using a sleeve on this mouse pad. If you're playing really tracking heavy games where you need to have a really fluid movement, if you're playing a lot of tack shooter games where you need to have pretty nice controlled movements, the mouse pad is controlled enough as it is. But if you're looking for more control, I would recommend getting the ES sleeve from Pulsar over the Focus sleeve because it feels a lot nicer on the up and down motions and just overall. All right, so that should be it. I'm trying to get a little bit more in depth with my review, so hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Leave a like if you did. I will be creating a mouse pad control spreadsheet. So there's going to be a master sheet only for control mouse pads because they're all ever so slightly the same but different. And I want to give the most accurate way for people to go and find the control pad they're looking for, because not everything can be a Zero, Saturn Pro, or GSR clone. Everything is slightly different, and every mouse that I've showed in this video is so ever so slightly different that makes them different buying experience for people. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Green frog in his big blue jammies, hanging out with his friends, having time of his life. I know it's cute, but just bear with me. We talking about a frog in blue jammies.